The Auburn Tigers are pursuing another wide receiver in the transfer portal.
Freezing temperatures are likely for several hours inland and a few hours closer to the coast.
Yes.
You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Happy Charlie Tuesday to all who celebrate, as we are joined by Auburn message board legend Charlie 5 on the show today. Auburn has offered another wide receiver via the transfer portal. Former Colorado receiver Montana Lemonious-Craig, incredible name. Sign him on the name alone. But this is a guy that blew up Colorado's spring game, had like 150 yards in their spring game. I think like 96 of it was on one play. He had a big touchdown, but still had like 60 yards outside of that as well. So that's exciting. He's got some experience, nothing crazy production-wise, but he was throwing the football at times last year. But Auburn has offered him, Charlie 5.
Yeah, if you got a hyphen in your name, I want you. I'm just going to go ahead and throw that out there.
That's huge.
The more hyphens, the more that I want you. No, we're clearly looking for another outside guy. I mean, this guy's 6'2", 185. You got Hudson that's 6'1", 6'2", 190, depending on what roster you're looking at. Both of them have some experience. Montana seems to be have the ability to kind of clearly take the top off the defense and go 90 in a single play. So we have them of what we're looking for, and you can definitely tell by the two offers so far that have gone out. And I mean, clearly, I hoping we're getting one of these guys.
Charlie 5, there was some folks that went after me just for like reading, where Jordan Hudson's the former 5-star TCU player that's entered the portal that Auburn's trying to get on campus for an official visit this weekend. But I talked about how like he almost exclusively lined up at outside receiver, specifically on the right side of the field. And like this dude's 6'1", 190, right? And then a few days later, they offer Montana Lemonious-Craig, who, as you said, 6'2", 190. I think someplace having like 185, but around the same size. And these are dudes that are like outside type receivers. So typically, Hugh Freeze goes for these bigger body dudes. Should we read into that? Or do you think it's more of a just like, yeah, you've like been somewhat successful playing wide receiver and I need you on the roster? Do you think it's just that? Or do you think it's specifically for outside dudes? Or do you think there's the anticipation that they can move the slot because of their size? Where are you as far as what do you think the goal is, assuming the staff can get them on the roster?
I think they just like these two guys because there's a receiver from Marshall who's like 6'4", 220. There's a couple of big-bodied receivers that have gone in the portal that have
from Marshall.
Production.
Is that what you said?
I think there's a guy from Marshall who's like 6'4", 220 that's in the portal. I just think they like these guys. I think they like the production and the big playability of both. And I don't know. I think it's just, hey, let's just get a body. I think they got something in mind that they're looking for, and these two guys sort of fit it. So, I don't necessarily believe so far. It's just if you get a wide receiver, like let's just get a body. I think you need to get some player. I mean, there's some talent on this roster. It's young and sort of unrealized potential. So it's not just adding a body. I don't necessarily think that's the goal. I think they're trying to find quality players, and these two guys look like quality players.
I'm with you. All right, so Montana Lemonious-Craig, he California guy, went to Colorado. He now has offers from Auburn, of course, UCF, Colorado State, Arizona, Liberty, USF, Tennessee, Washington State, and Penn State. So schools all over the country. I think you look at, Penn State that kind of pops off the page and it's like, okay, I think that's a decent program. They're offering all kinds of kids in the portal, which is interesting. But Lemonious-Craig played in 25 career games. He started in 12, and he's got 33 catches for just under 500 yards and 5 scores in 3 seasons. So nothing crazy from a production standpoint. But he's one of like 15 guys that have left Colorado after their spring game, which is wild. Because this seems like a guy that you may want on the roster. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, how many like passing yards did Colorado have last year? I wonder. I mean, he had 359 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns, and they're one of the worst teams in college football. So I can't imagine that percentage-wise, that's probably a fairly decent size of their total offense. So I think
they had 2,075 passing yards last year.
Yeah, so
that's wild. That's bad.
It's not very good, but I think that's probably more than Auburn, but from last year. Yikes. I don't know, but still, I think the kid's got potential, and I'm glad we're jumping on him.
Mm-hmm. And he's majoring in communication, so he'll be able to actually transfer here if he were to pick this. One thing I saw about his recruitment is, yes, it's not sports management, thank goodness. The one thing I saw about this is Auburn was the only SEC school to offer him. It was the Malzahn staff was the only SEC school to offer him coming out of high school. So
interesting.
Does that help you the second time around, even though it's a different staff? Maybe there's some loyalty there. Not that he owes Auburn any loyalty whatsoever, but worth noting. I think it's worth noting.
Well, didn't you say UCF was one of the offers that he had?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
that's a good point.
Gus re-offering him, so there could be some competition there.
Yeah, that's probably more valuable than the school at that point, the person who actually offered it. Good point. Yeah. All right. Auburn had a transfer linebacker on campus. He said some things. Charlie 5, we'll discuss that in just a moment right here on Locked On Auburn. Today's show brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Grand slams, no hitters, and double plays are back, and there's no better place to get in on the MLB action than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Hopefully you put some money down on Spencer Strider last night. Holy cow, that young man is impressive. So head over to FanDuel right now and get in on the action. And if you're a new customer, you can step up to the plate with a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. Bonus bets, you get them back if you don't win. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon. FanDuel is the official partner of Major League Baseball. All right, Charlie 5, I want to talk about a former 5-star linebacker entering the portal. But first, let's talk about Cincinnati transfer linebacker Jaheim Thomas. He visited Auburn, and there is a great interview piece up with Jeffrey Lee where he says some stuff, but like it's pretty generic.
Yeah,
Charlie 5, like, it's pretty heavy with the coach speak. Talking about it was good. He enjoyed it. He liked Hugh Freeze. Hugh Freeze is different. The town of Auburn is great. You know, he feels at home. I mean, all that generic stuff, right? But, I mean, it sounds like there's a clear 3-school race for his services. He already visited Arkansas, and obviously is now visited Auburn. And the next spot is to visit Wisconsin. They hired Luke Fickell, who was at Cincinnati, so his former head coach. And that's tough to go against. Like, let's just call a spade. That's not a great feeling.
No. Kids follow. We've seen a lot in this the portals, era that kids will follow coaches when they make moves. So,
except no Boise guys came to Auburn.
Except for that one, we're the only ones ever.
Unreal.
That's great. Like it's the only example you can almost come up with where kids didn't follow their coach. But anyway, that's going to be a tough one.
We should have made a bigger deal out of that, don't you think? Yeah. Like in hindsight, you and I talked about
red flag.
You and I talked about that. It was like, why are no Boise guys coming?
It bothered you. It bothered you more than anybody.
Yeah, you actually talked me off of the ledge, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I was like, well, maybe they're just not good enough, but
like, yeah, that's it.
in hindsight, everybody just hated him. They wanted him to get no, but this kid clearly loves Luke Fickell. And who's to blame? Who can blame him? He's going to go visit there. Hopefully, it's way too cold. And he really enjoyed. Like when he was here, it was peak wet. It was peak Auburn weather. The last like 3 or 4 days, it was a good
weekend for it. Yeah,
it was point. Like they call it Chamber of Commerce weather. Mm-hmm. It was definitely peak. So hopefully that won him over because we need him. We need an edge guy. I think in Jeffrey Lee's article from On3, they talked about possibly even he playing inside linebacker, which I thought that was interesting. He must have a lot more athletic ability than, we know. He played
Charlie 5. He played more box stuff than he did edge at Cincinnati. So
yeah, just seems like we got a lot of bodies lined up there. But you got to do what you got to do to get him. I don't want to say tell him whatever you got to tell him, but I mean he can play.
But tell him whatever you want.
But tell him whatever you got to tell him.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We need him. We need that guy at edge. How about that? We need.
This is a top 3 want currently in the portal for me.
He may be my top one so far. I mean, obviously, really? I want a quarterback. But
quarterback aside, I mean, there's no quarterbacks in the portal that I think or either of us are really fired up about. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this. Shoot from the hip. Your top 3 transfer targets, guys in the portal that you would want.
Guys in the portal that I would want right now, I would say Jaheim Thomas, Jaden Muskrat, and one of those 2 receivers. That would probably be my top 3.
Really?
Right there. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, just based off of need and like gettability, maybe. Mm-hmm. And I mean, those three are the guys. Or 3 out of those 4 would be fantastic.
I really like Emmanuel Pregnon, the guard from Wyoming.
Sure.
I don't know how involved. I don't know if we're in it for him. I don't really get that vibe. Muskrat, I think we're a front runner for, so I'm cool with that. I just don't know. Is Muskrat like an SEC guard this year? That's my only question. Like, as far as winning more games in 2023, does he help you do that? I don't know. I think he raises the floor. Lindsay and I talked about that yesterday. I like the Colorado receiver, I think, more than the former 5-star TCU guy. I like Montana Lemonious-Craig stuff more. I think as far as like the current makeup of our roster, I think I like it more.
I get it. I don't the Hudson kid. I don't know a ton about him. I know he was like wasn't he not a 5-star out of high school? Like he was a very highly rated kid, but you couldn't really crack the lineup at TCU. You would think as a 5-star, you'd probably be one of the more talented kids there. But there's so many things that can go on. I think they were very old. They were an older team this past year. So
that's kind of the thing is like they lost a lot. Like you should be in a prime spot.
Yeah.
But Duggan's gone, right? Like they lost their quarterback too, right? So like maybe he doesn't feel good about the direction of the offense. Like I don't know, but I don't know why you would leave that situation if you were like in line to play. Right.
Yeah. And then the Montana kid, like there's so many players. There's so many players that have left Colorado for more than just Dion cleaning house that they were just like, I just don't know that I want to be a part of this, guaranteeing positions to certain players and things like that. Like there's a lot of dudes that just said they were going to go in the portal as soon as they could. And this strikes me as, that this kid does not seem like somebody that you're if you're Dion, you want to get rid of. I could be wrong. He may have 3 or 4 that he's replaced him with. I don't know, but this does not seem like one of those. This seems like I kind of want to try to go better myself and kind of get out of this situation. And he popped off in the spring game and he's ready to, I guess, level up, so to speak. So
yeah, good for him.
I like it.
Yeah. So, I would say him, Pregnon, and Jaheim Thomas, but I would put an asterisk next to Muskrat just because I like him too. Yeah. As far as top 3 guys that we would want. Okay, let's discuss briefly a 5-star linebacker entered the portal, Notre Dame guy, Price Kollie. he played a lot of special teams for Notre Dame last year, and he only played like 130 something snaps on defense, but former 5-star linebacker. I'd take that in a heartbeat if that was headed our way. To my knowledge, we haven't offered him or anything, but just kind of anytime a former 5-star is a portal, I think we need to be aware of it.
Sure. Yeah. And like you said, I haven't really heard that that's a guy that's not necessarily not on our radar, but maybe someone that's already kind of made up their mind, possibly. Or
sure.
That seems like possibly a work in progress already. So, yeah, I'm not sure that's going to be in the cards for us.
All right. What should we expect coming up over the next few weeks, specifically the next week as the portal closes less than a week from today? Charlie 5 joins me. All that coming up right here on Locked On Auburn. Want to encourage you to join the Locked On Auburn Discord. It is free. All you have to do is click the link in the episode description down below. Also, check out all of our written work at auburndaily.com. Charlie 5, we talked about this a week ago. We're kind of surprised with the way that this portal is going. Now that we're in it, it makes sense why it's this way, because there's less urgency to do all of this. And if you graduate, my understanding now is if you graduate, you can do it after the 30th when the portal closes. You can just leave, which some of these guys that we were kind of looking for and expecting to leave, like a TJ Finley, he's going to be able to grad transfer. And so like this week doesn't even matter for him. Right. And so like that's one of the bigger names that we were expecting to enter the portal from an Auburn perspective. But still a few of these guys that were kind of, okay, are they going to leave? Or are they going to stay? A lot of these dudes aren't grad transfers. And it's like, okay, are they going to stick around? Are they going to be here a week from now? And I just wonder if at any point there's going to be a buildup of action with the portal. Like, are a lot of people going to do it on the last day of the window that are undergrads? I don't know. But to me, I think that's kind of the next milestone that you got to look at.
Yeah, I don't know. I was having a conversation today with a buddy of mine. I kind of feel like this speaks very well of the program that the trajectory or whatever the atmosphere of the program that Hugh's building, because there's a lot of guys that aren't going to play. And you kind of feel like I honestly felt like as soon as the portal opened, we'd have roughly 10 or so guys that would go in, and they're not. So does that mean even if they know they're maybe not necessarily high in the pecking order, they want to stay and fight it out because they like what they see so far? That kind of is the feel. That's kind of the feel that I have. Maybe these guys are, it's not, hey, I want to get out of here and go find something. Hey, I like what I see. If I do A, B, and C, I may have a shot, and I kind of want to be around this whenever that opportunity arises. There's several guys that I'm very impressed that they haven't gone in yet, and they may still. I don't know the benefit of not being in already. It's just to see. It seems like it'd be more time to market yourself and more time to be out there. I don't really get why, if the guys that would go in right now need all the time they can get to find another school, I don't know why you would wait until the last day. That doesn't mean you have to be at another school by the end of the week. It just means you have to be in the portal. But like, how many opportunities are going to be there at that point in time? I don't know. It's been very peculiar how this whole thing's played out. It's played out the exact opposite of the way I thought it would. Yeah. But I'm wondering if it speaks to the program and that's being built there's a word I'm trying to get to. The culture, that's where I was going for. The culture that's being built, and these guys want to be a part of it, even if they have to sit for longer. Maybe these guys just want to be a part of it.
Yeah, which is cool. And we talked about some of those guys staying, right? Some of those guys that are juniors or seniors are like their path of playing time is almost non-existent, but I don't think they're going to leave because they would have left by now. If that was like their primary thing, they would have left by now. But there are a few of these guys that like maybe transferred in already or highly ranked JUCO guys. Like we saw that with Mba, right? But, and I shared this on the show probably last week sometime. I wrote about it at auburndaily.com. Just talking with a source. I mean, there were some tough conversations. Like those conversations happened, Charlie Five, between position coaches and their players. Tough conversations happened. It's not that's not a speculation type thing. It happened. And the response was, it's only a matter of time, sadly, was the quote. And like, was it just these 5 guys that are in there? And like 3 of them are reserve linebackers? Like, is that it? Is that it? The only guys in the 2 deep that you lost were Jeffrey Mba, then maybe Tarvarish Dawson, assuming he was in the 2 deep. Like, is that it? Because for somebody in the program to say it's only a matter of time, sadly, I don't know. Like that leads me to think it's going to happen eventually. That's why I've been saying that.
Exactly. Also, though, could it mean that you haven't necessarily seen the caliber of player that entered the portal that you either expected or they haven't gone in yet, or what's there is not what you thought would be there? Could that play a role in it? I'm sure it's probably a mixture of all of it. It's probably a little bit of a mixture of everything, but yeah.
Another angle of this, Charlie Five, that I think is it because people love to tell us when we're wrong, right? Which is fine. Y'all can totally do that. I don't care. But I think a lot of people are like, well, of course they're going to wait. And I'm like, no, stop it. We see kids across every roster, virtually every roster on like every team throughout college football do dumb stuff all the time. Like, don't act like this is like all super calculated stuff. So I don't know, like that kind of surprises me too. It's pretty impressive. Like the lack of like rash decisions that have happened, like props to our guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think probably the only really rash decision so far. I mean, I kind of feel like Dawson may should have stuck around, but I mean, you don't know that he ended up going to Cincinnati.
That was pretty quick too.
And that was quick. So that may have been something where that was sort of like something in the works. There may be a connection there, whatever he may, I don't know, but I'm with you. Like maybe
he got close to Nick Mardner and Nick was just telling him about it. He's like, man, I got to get there. I
miss Cincinnati so bad. Yeah, exactly. You can have 1,000 yards receiving and then go to Cincinnati and have 200. But it's I'm with you.
Like, I'll take 200. Let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Double up.
Right.
No, you're right. There hasn't been like a lot of decisions that you're questioning. Everything sort of kind of made sense.
Yeah, and props to our kids for that. I think it's good. Charlie Five, how can people find you, hear you, love you, support you, experience you, see you, smell you?
You can find me on Twitter at @the_Charlie_5. I got to look down to read it. I don't know why, but you can find me in the Locked On Auburn Discord, auburnlive.com, the message board, or weekly on the Dad Bod Golf Pod.
You can find all of my written work once again, auburndaily.com, and we'll see you tomorrow. This has been Locked On Auburn.